just remembering some other dreams that I've had 7 years ago, and visions. So I had, if I remember right, a standard vision. Well, let me back up. I had a dream. Actually, I was sleeping with my husband one night when I had this dream. And in that dream, I was in Perth Amboy on Conbury Boulevard. By Quick Check, we were leaving like the area of his mother's old home in Delaney, heading towards my house in Jersey. And we're stopped at the light, and at that point, I'm driving and he's in the passenger side, and there was some weird thing where I was driving, but for a second I'm looking inside the car for some reason. I don't recall that part too much, but anyway, I'm at the light. We're stopped at the light, and as I'm waiting for the light to turn green, or I'm waiting to turn right to get on the highway to go home, I start to see soldiers floating down from the sky, like in a formation, and it was very slow, like they were and there was no parachutes or anything. They were just in a soldier attention stance, and they were in a line, and they were floating down from the sky. At that point, I panicked in the dream, and I believe I told Eddie, we gotta go get the kids, we gotta get out of here. I had a lot of dreams during 2017 about getting out of here, right? And at the time I thought it was like getting out of here, going to the mountains, because the Bible says, head for the mountains, which is true. And then it's not, it depends on what level of the Bible you're reading. And at the time I didn't know a whole lot, and so I was at the level of heading to the mountains, and so that was my perception at the time. And so in the dream, I'm telling him we gotta go get the kids and get out of here. And I make a right, and I get onto the highway, and I want to put my foot on the gas, and I can't. And at this point in the dream, the center console disappears, and it disappears, and Eddie's foot is purposely pushing my foot off the gas pedal, so that I can't put my foot on the gas and get us out of here, okay? And I'm pushing his foot with my foot in the dream, and I'm asking him to stop stopping us, and he just keeps trying to stop us, and I keep trying to stop him from stopping us, right? And what I don't realize at the time as I'm having the dream is that I'm also acting this out in real life. And I guess as I'm saying stop in the dream, I'm also saying stop in real life, right? Which I've never done before, to the point where it woke Eddie up, and I guess we're actually playing footsies like I was in the dream, in real life as well. So I was pushing him with my foot, pushing my foot against his foot in real life, as the same as I was doing in the dream. And it woke him up, and I was also saying, we gotta go, in real life. And it woke him up, and he was like, what the heck is going on with you? Because obviously I was having a lot of, God wouldn't leave me alone. I was having a lot of dreams, and I actually used to have them as a kid, until I stopped when I was 15. Because of the witchcraft. And I'm not going to let anybody take away that truth. And that is the reason why. And with that said, he stormed downstairs, and I'm trying to gather myself from the dream. I eventually went downstairs, or was I? Either I eventually went downstairs, or the next morning we talked about it. But at some point, we talked about it, and he wanted to know what I dreamt. And I told him, and at some point when I explained, or was trying to explain that he was I was about to say that he was stopping me, he actually finished it for me, because he knew even then that he was stopping me. And as I said, at the time, I thought it was a physical gotta go, and everything happens for a reason, right? Nothing happens by mistake. Even all this drama that just happened in the last 7-8 months, and the confusion that I had, and everything that I have gone through in the last 7-8 months, even though I wasn't right about everything exactly, it all had to happen exactly the way it happened in order for us to get to this point, right? So back then, the gotta go, my perception was a physical gotta go to the mountains, which is why we bought the 3 acres. And I had been trying for some reason, for other reasons, to get something in Pennsylvania even before then, and it was being stopped by my husband and many others every time we tried. And so I wanted to get my family to safety, or have a place of safety to go to when the end times comes, which we're here now. The end times is here. And that's what I was being led during that year. I was led to find a way to escape physically from New Jersey into Pennsylvania, because Jersey is going to get destroyed. So I was getting dreams of floods, meteors, soldiers coming, right? And I did think they'll come everywhere, but recently I found someone who actually had the same dreams of the soldiers floating down, slightly different, but almost exactly, if I remember right. It was almost exactly the same as another soldier dream, and I'll talk about that one. So at that time, I was led to physically escape the end times flood of New Jersey to Pennsylvania. I eventually learned that the gotta go was more spiritual, at least for some, right? And for some it still will be physical. Depends on what team you're on, right? And that's even within the church. Some will escape and be taken to safety, and some will be raptured. Some will die for their king and still go to heaven. So it depends on where you are and what God decides. So that was one dream that I had about soldiers coming down, floating down from the sky. I didn't, I wasn't, I don't know if I was sure if it was soldiers or not. I think I became sure once I had this vision. So there was another time I think I had a vision, standing vision, and I was washing dishes. And in my kitchen in Jersey, and through the window, the soldiers are floating down again, and they plop down. They plop down. They plop down into the alleyway between our houses, and they walk towards the front, and they start gathering the whole neighborhood, and they're rounding up, and everybody's like in confusion, like what's going on. And so at this point I leave my kitchen, I go to my front door to watch the commotion, and I believe my family was behind me. This is kind of what like my feeling was, like my family was behind me. I'm like at the door with like the door kind of cracked, my foot holding the door kind of open but kind of closed, and we're watching through like the windows and the door, the commotion and the roundup of the neighborhood, and they're beginning to round them up into actually my side yard. And at some point, a few ladies come to me and ask me if I could let them into the house. And I tell them no. And I say, no, you belong out there. And I didn't really understand that dream that much, at least that part that I just mentioned about me telling the ladies no. Actually recently, after talking to a girlfriend of mine, that I finally found a girl who knows about the end times, or knows biblical and was into the end times like me. As I was explaining to her that dream, I realized now that I know more about the Bible, that was about the foolish virgins, and those were the ladies without oil, and they were asking me to let them in and to give them oil, and like Jesus, I told them, I never knew you. I didn't say say those words in the dream, but I told them, no, you belong out there with the rest of the heathens, because they made their choice and they didn't ready themselves for the end times. So I realized that end of last year, actually. And it was quite enlightening to realize that, because I didn't understand it at all. And part of the reason why I'm doing these videos now is I want to make it clear that when I have these dreams, or when anybody who is like me has these dreams, these kind of dreams that we get from God, the understanding is not always there up front. Okay? And sometimes they're multi-level, right? So there is a current understanding that makes sense at the time, and there's a reason for that making sense at the time, and then there's, could be a secondary understanding down the line, and maybe even a third or fourth understanding at some point, right? Which is what happened with some of the other dreams, and fed my confusion with the great earthquake dream that I had. So that one was very multi-level, and it all happens for a reason. I'm gonna stop this one and do another one about some of the recent visions and dreams that I've had at the end of last year.